What's going on, guys? The CTA Prime back here again with another LaunchBox tutorial. Today we're going to be covering Nintendo Satellaview. Now this was released in 1995 in Japan and it went on for about 5 years. Basically this was an add-on for the Super Famicom system that allowed you to download their broadcast games. And there were a lot of games that were released there that were never released on cartridge, but luckily we can emulate them using Retroarch and we can add them all to our LaunchBox collection. So if you're interested in getting Satellaview set up in your LaunchBox collection, let's go ahead and get started. The very first thing you're going to need are the Satellaview games. Now, I have mine here in a folder called Nintendo Satellaview right on my desktop. There's a few different extensions we'll be dealing with here: SMC, SRM, and SFC. So basically, these are Nintendo games, and we're going to run them inside of Retroarch using the core called SNES9X. Most of the games are going to run fine without a BIOS, but if you want to run every single one of them, like the BS games, you'll need the bsx.bin. And I'll show you exactly how to find out if you have the correct BIOS inside of Retroarch. Speaking of Retroarch, we're going to have to launch that first. If you don't already have Retroarch set up, I have made a full tutorial. I'll leave a link for that in the description. We need to go ahead and download the core. So I'm going to head over to my LaunchBox folder, Emulators, Retroarch. We're going to launch it from here. From the main menu, we're going to scroll down to Online Updater, Core Updater, and we're going to find SNES9X. We just want the SNES9X, not 2005, not 2010. So I'm going to go ahead and press Enter. It's going to download it and extract it for me. Before we get out of Retroarch, I'll show you how to find out if you have the correct BIOS. From the main menu, Load Core, and we're going to load the SNES9X core. Scroll down to Information, Core Information. From here, we can find out if we have the correct BIOS. I haven't placed mine in my Retroarch system folder yet, so both of these are missing. The ST BIOS is for Sufami Turbo games. This was Japanese only releases, and there's actually some cool games there. So if you want to add that BIOS, you can also find that one. If you end up downloading the bsx.bin, this is the MD5 checksum. You can check it against this to make sure you have the correct BIOS. Same thing with the ST BIOS. I'm going to go ahead and exit Retroarch, and I'm going to take my bsx.bin and I'm going to place it right inside of my system folder inside of my Retroarch directory. This is where all the BIOSes go for Retroarch. So now I have my BIOS ready to go. I'm also going to place my Nintendo Satellaview games inside of my LaunchBox directory under Games. That way I can easily access them and I don't have to transfer them later on. They're now located here in my LaunchBox directory. So now all that's left to do is start up LaunchBox. We're going to configure the Retroarch emulator and then we're going to import our games. So from within LaunchBox, we're going to go to Tools, Manage Emulators. We're going to find Retroarch as long as you have it set up inside of LaunchBox. Associated Platforms. And at the very bottom, we're going to make a new section, Nintendo Satellaview, and we're going to use the SNES9X underscore Libretto core. You can use the drop-down menu here. Make sure we have this checked, the default emulator for Nintendo Satellaview games, and click OK. We're going to close this down. Now it's time to import our games. Now keep in mind, when importing these Satellaview games, there's no box art. At least I haven't been able to find any online because these never came in boxes. Hopefully somebody down the road can make some for it. But we will be able to download screenshots and clear logos. We're going to go ahead and import the games. Tools, Import, ROM files. Go ahead and read through the import wizard. We're going to click Next. I'm going to add a folder, and that's going to be the Satellaview folder that I added to my LaunchBox directory under Games. Mine's named Nintendo Satellaview. LaunchBox is going to sort out all the ROMs in here for us automatically. Click OK and Next. Platform for imported games, Nintendo Satellaview, and we have an option right here for it. Next. Default emulator should be Retroarch. Would you like to move or copy the files? Well, I've already placed them in my LaunchBox directory, so I don't need to move them, but if they're somewhere else on your PC, go ahead and copy the files into your LaunchBox Games folder. Would you like to download metadata for your games? Yes, I would, and I'm actually going to choose both of these for the Satellaview games. Click Next. Would you like to download images? Yes, and like I mentioned, unfortunately I haven't been able to find any box art, but we should be able to get some screenshots and clear logos for these games. Would you like to specify any custom options? Not for Satellaview, so we'll click Next. We have the name of the game, the file location, and the extension. We're going to click Finish. LaunchBox is going to go ahead and download the metadata and our artwork for the Satellaview games. Just give it a little while to finish up. My games were imported successfully. I'll click OK. This will be under Consoles, Nintendo Satellaview. Like I mentioned, box art was hard to come by for these games because they never came in boxes. So I'm going to go to Image Group, Clear Logos. So here we have it. We now have Satellaview imported into LaunchBox and we're ready to start playing. I'm just going to go with Chrono Trigger Jet Bike. Using an Xbox One S controller here. And that's pretty much it for this video, guys. We really appreciate you watching, and I hope you have Nintendo Satellaview set up in your LaunchBox collection. It's definitely worth adding. If you guys have any questions, let us know in the comments below. But like always, thanks for watching.